Welcome back to Nick in Detail. I'm Nick, and in today's video, we're going to be reviewing the All Whites 2026 FIFA World Cup campaign, which wrapped up in Vancouver yesterday afternoon. In this video, I'll give my thoughts on the All Whites 2026 World Cup campaign, who was my standout player, and give a little mini review for their 3 group games. Without further ado, let's get into today's video. The All Whites have wrapped up their 2026 FIFA World Cup campaign in Vancouver yesterday afternoon. Their 5-1 defeat to the 10th ranked Belgians, ensuring the All Whites cannot qualify for the round of 32. This ends what was a promising campaign for the All Whites, but one that just never really got the end product they were hoping for. Let's give our thoughts on the All Whites World Cup campaign. As I said before, it was actually a promising campaign. If you actually came into this World Cup and saying the All Whites were going to score 4 goals and actually not look too bad, I think everyone would have taken it. Me certainly would have taken that result indeed. But one thing that we really saw the All Whites lack was that defensive capability. We really saw the All Whites break down towards the end of the game. We know, of course, the temperatures over in North America are very hot, something that a lot of these players won't be used to, and very much have only had a few weeks preparation over in America in San Diego. So it was always going to be a tough transition for some of these players to really get used to that heat and climate. But it's not just that, it's the altitude they're playing at as well, particularly if you're playing in Mexico, for example, as well, even though, of course, in this instance, the All Whites did not. But yeah, one thing that really let the All Whites down was that back line, just lots of holes exposed in that back line, and ultimately teams punished them. And these sorts of teams, your Egypts, your Belgians, those top world-class players, you cannot just give them any sort of little space to work with because they will punish you, and we very much saw that in these games. But despite that, All Whites going forward, they looked very impressive. This was despite a lot of questions coming to this World Cup on the All Whites goal scoring capability. We know, particularly in the warm-ups, they didn't actually look really that convincing going forward, but in this World Cup, we really saw a shift in momentum, a drive going forward from this All Whites team. They very much looked great going forward, which was such a shame because if that backline had been tidied up, I certainly would have backed the All Whites to get through to the round of 32 and maybe even a little shout of a round of 16 qualification. But yes, unfortunately, that backline very much leading down the All Whites. Apart from that, it was a very promising campaign from the All Whites. If you thought they'd get a draw and 2 losses out of this campaign, I think there would have probably been a few laughs shared, because based on the All Whites heading into the World Cup, they weren't actually looking that great. But yes, overall for the All Whites, my overall thoughts on their campaign, just promising signs, but once again, just that backline leading them down at the end of the day and costing them a place in the round of 32. So who was my standout player? Well, my probably unlikely standout player from this tournament was Elijah Just. Now, Elijah Just, we don't really hear too much of him in terms of, you know, his stature and his character in this All Whites team, but he was my absolute standout for the All Whites in this World Cup campaign. 3 goals from the Motherwell winger, and in all honesty, going forward into this World Cup, I didn't really think he'd actually be doing much, but very much credit to him. He was very much the one that was really looking to make things happen for this All Whites team. And this was despite a lot of chat about Chris Wood being the main man, but we didn't actually really see an awful lot of Chris Wood in this World Cup. Yes, it didn't help the All Whites were probably feeding him the right kind of ball he's used to at Nottingham Forest, but also his playing style, where he likes to be that big man in the box causing problems. We didn't really see the All Whites trying to do that really in their 3 group games as well. But yes, Elijah just brilliant in every touch he took, every shot he took, and his goals were really well taken as well. I guess Chris Wood did get a couple assists in that first game against Iran, but Elijah Just, what a standout campaign from him. Even chat about Celtic and Rangers, the big sides in Scottish Premiership football, looking to potentially sign him as well, just showing just how great Elijah Just has been at this World Cup. And for me, my standout player for the tournament. A great showing by Elijah Just. So now it's time for a little mini review for these 3 games. Honestly, it's not going to be a big one as well, because I think all 3 games were very similar. I think what we saw in the All Whites with that first game against Iran, it was probably actually the better game out of these 3 group games. Obviously, they got a draw out of it, they didn't lose. But I think we just saw a big change in this All Whites team in that first game in Los Angeles. I don't think I've ever seen the All Whites play like that in the last probably year and a half, couple of years. Just so much confidence going forward for them as well, and just playing with a lot of pride on their sleeve, and very much getting a 2-2 draw. As I said earlier, the backline letting them down. I think had that backline been a bit more tighter, the All Whites actually would have won the game, and imagine that they could have got through to the round of 32 based on their goal differential there, as one of the 8 third-seeded teams that go through to the round of 32. But yes, for that All Whites in that first game, they did look great going forward, but that back line, once again, just letting them down. Same with Egypt as well. They started really great too. They looked really great, but then unfortunately at the end, as I said before, potentially the conditions at Vancouver, despite being an indoor stadium, still quite warm, and we just saw Egypt come through and crumble them at the end. Of course, Egypt very much being, of course, an African country, very used to these sorts of conditions, and they really just showed the quality they have in that team. Belgium, it was very much a kind of a downhill sort of slope for the All Whites. There was a lot of chat about them needing to win this game. I don't think we really saw that energy from them. I think more towards the end of the game when it was 3-0 Belgium. I think it was a bit late really for the All Whites to really get that drive and momentum going forward. And Belgium just showing the class they've been in. And another team that's also been under a lot of scrutiny this World Cup for the lack of performances, for the quality they have in their team. Very much putting on a statement showing and getting a pretty big 5-1 win. But my overall thoughts on these 3 games, very much as I said earlier, it was promising signs in the All Whites going forward, but once again, I think what we just saw that backline lacking was a lot of communication, but I think also just a lot of structure too. I think it was a bit wayward. There was really no confidence in that backline to deal with the front players from each country they played in this World Cup, and ultimately costing them a lot of goals. And very much was actually said, I think it was Liberado Kakache saying, you cannot be exceeding 3 goals in games and not qualifying for the qualifying for the round of 32, and that perfectly sums up this All White situation in this World Cup. Well, that's going to be for me. Yes, I said earlier, if you had taken the All Whites actually not playing too bad in the World Cup like they did now, I think you certainly would have taken it. I mean, the All Whites performance at the World Cup, pre-World Cup, I would have actually taken this sort of result. I think this is a great little step to build on from the All Whites heading into the 2030 World Cup, even though, of course, it's still 4 years away, but very much for the All Whites. I think they can take this as a positive sign that they're heading in the right direction, and very much with more big games. If they can get more competitive games against these big international countries, as we saw in the last year and a half, this All Whites team, I believe, can be very competitive at the next World Cup. But for me, that's going to be it. And until next time, I'll see you later.